Do you remember when I grabbed this at the Goodwill bins? It was on one of my recent thrift hauls. I had it sitting in my studio and I didn't know exactly what I planned for these, but in today's video, we are going to repurpose them and incorporate them in my holiday decor. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonnet, the owner and creator behind Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and in today's video, you guys, we are working with little vintage alphabet blocks. I was thrifting a while ago, and when I was at the bins, I stumbled upon this big, huge container. I opened it up, and it was jam-packed full of these blocks. And there were little alphabets, there were all different other blocks. So in today's video, I decided to challenge myself to see if I could create 5 different projects with these blocks. So stick around and see what I came up with. For project 1, the first thing I wanted to do was see how many words I could create out of these little blocks. In the end, all I got was Merry Christmas. So like I said, I just had to be thankful that I ended up getting Merry Christmas out of the words, and I had to finagle to make this work because I didn't want all the colors to be the same next to each other. So for starters, what I'm doing is taking Type Bond, and I am going to Type Bond Merry together and then Christmas together. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to stack the Merry on top of the Christmas. I had actually thought about adding something additional to this entire block set, but in the end, sometimes simple is better. As I'm editing this video, I realized that I said earlier that I was trying to finagle all the letters, so 2 colors didn't sit next to each other, and I mixed up the 2 R's, so now I do have 2 greens next to each other. Oh well, it is still an awesome project. For project 2, there were these little green blocks. I loved the color. I liked how distressed they looked. I'm going to stack 3 of them each together to create 2 different ornaments. And my vision here was I had these tiny little alphabet stamps that I had from years ago from scrapbooking, and I was going to create a couple different sayings on each of them. All the letters that I had in my old scrapbooking supplies were too large, and this one was by far the tiniest ones I had, so I had to make it work. I was trying to finagle the letters, and I absolutely forgot how hard it was to work with these tiny little letters. I'm so used to working with the larger letters from IOD. And these little ones, they just kept on going wonky each way. They kept sticking to me, sticking to everything. And in the end, I finally made it work. But unfortunately, it was not exactly the look I was going for. I still liked them, but I had a different vision in my head. Let's go ahead and start decorating these. The first thing I did was I took a drill bit and I drilled a starter hole in the top of each one. I am then going to take a little eyelet and put an eyelet in each one so I can create a hanger. And then I decided to add a little bit of ribbon, a little bit of twine to finish these off. For project 3, because I did not have as many letters to create whatever words I'd like, I decided to create my own with these other blocks. And they were just a bit rough and they weren't old, but they were included. So what we're doing is we're gonna start off, we're gonna paint half of them Highlander, which is this beautiful rich red. And then the other half, we're gonna use Bayberry, which is a beautiful green. Did you guys notice? I have this in the shape of a Christmas tree. So the very top of the tree, the third row and the bottom row, I am painting Highlander. The second row and the fourth row, I am painting Bayberry. And then the very bottom, which is the trunk, I am going to paint a brown. It's called Oakum. And I just absolutely fell in love with that color. I thought it was perfect. I did apply 2 even coats to all the blocks. I let them dry very thoroughly, and then I'm going to come back and I am going to use letterpress from IOD. It is one of my favorite stamps because it has 3 different fonts. It incorporates numbers and letters as well. And this is the very small fonts from IOD, and they fit perfect on this blocks. So what I am doing is I am first laying down my numbers or my letters on each of the blocks. I then use my thin mount to pick it up. What I'm doing is I am actually lining up the very edge of the thin mount with the edge of the block, so I know exactly where to pick it up or where I have picked it up, so I can lay it back down once I ink up my stamp. And it goes as smooth as butter. Honestly, by doing this, you are going to be able to lay it down exactly where you want it. I should also add I am using the mixing white to stamp these letters. So this can be used to make custom colors. So all the other inks that are out there from IOD, you can use this mixing white to create custom colors, or you can use it just as a white. So that's what I've done. I just took an ink pad and squirted it on that ink pad, and I love how vibrant it is against both the Highlander and the Bayberry. And if you do want to replicate any of the projects in today's video, you can order all the products on my website at www.sonnetsgardenblooms.com. The very last thing that I want to add to this is I want to put a star on the very top of the tree. And I looked through all my stamps that I currently have. I couldn't find the exact star, so I went back into my scrapbooking supplies and I found this little star. And I thought it was a perfect addition to this, and I stamped it just like I did with every other stamp that I used today. Cleaned my stamp off right away and then put it right back in the storage area. Next, I've laid out my blocks on this board so I know exactly how I want this to look. I decided that I want to paint the board white, so I am using Casement from Fusion, and it is a very vibrant white. I am going to apply 2 even coats of Casement to this. I'm going to let it dry very thoroughly, and while that's drying, then I am going to glue together my words just like I did with Merry Christmas, and I'm going to let that dry. And then once the letters are all connected for each word, then I'm going to start connecting or stacking them. So you want your letters to be dry first, or the words to be dry, then you can start stacking and gluing that way. Now that it's dry, I'm laying down my tree, trying to position it exactly how I want it. As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking it's too plain, so I did go back and I added the kindest regards stamp to the background. I always talk about like the mixed media type of look, and I like layering and adding some depth to my projects. I love using kindest regards. I love using Le Courier. So I am using kindest regards, and I want to use stone gray versus the black. Sometimes using black is a bit harsh, but the stone gray is the perfect addition. And as you can see now, I think it like just adds a little bit more to this project. So what I also did is I went outside, I had some scrap boards, and I cut a frame for the whole picture. And I am using the same color as the trunk, which is oakum. I'm applying 1 even coat of oakum to all 4 boards. Once those dry, then I'm going to take my brad nailer and brad nail the border on. The last thing I should note is I did glue the entire Christmas tree to the board as well. And this project is then complete. For project 4, this is going to be a real simple project. I had a bunch of extra blocks. I also had these other blue blocks, but I wanted to create a project for my neutral lovers. And I know I have a lot of you in the house that you love neutrals. So I am using faded burlap from DIY, and I am going to apply 1 even coat of faded burlap to all of the blue blocks and also all of the letter blocks. And I'm going to let that dry very thoroughly, come back and do like a half a coat here and there, just where a little bit of the color is coming through. And then we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to seal it with clear wax. I jumped ahead too fast. I don't want to seal it just yet. Before I seal it with the clear wax, I do want to use my Type Bond, and I want to apply a nice even layer of Type Bond to the actual letter block and then put it on that plain block. And I want to make it a little bit of a kitty corner, and I want it to almost to have the appearance of like a stacked present. And that is what I'm going to do to all 5 of them. Let those dry very thoroughly, and then we're going to seal it with clear wax. Now that it's dry, here is what they look like. I think they turned out super cute. I am taking DIY's clear wax, and I am just going to apply a nice even coat. I am using the JRV stencil brush, and this is the largest one. and I find that it works great for waxing as well as stenciling. So again, I'm applying one even coat to all 5 of them. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to add a bit of details to really make that letter pop. To make the letter pop, I am using the Golden Rule, which is the DIY gilding wax, and it is so gorgeous, you guys. I love working with this. So I'm taking another waxing brush and I am going to really fill in around that letter pretty heavy, and then I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, wipe away the excess, really just kind of wipe over the letter itself to bring back that faded burlap, but leave that golden gilding wax behind. Then I'm going to take the excess wax and just rub all over the ornament just to add a little shimmer here and there, and I think this turned out awesome. The next thing I'm going to do is drill a little starter hole for my eyelet. I'm going to do that to all 5 of them, and then I'm going to screw in the eyelet. The one thing I regret is that I think I should have possibly gone outside and spray painted them like a goldish color or like a neutral color. I think having the silver eyelet was a bit of an eyesore, but I did find a different solution to cover that up a bit. What I decide to do is use my twine that I love using. I'm going to feed that through the eyelet, figure out what height I want it at, and cut it, and that will be my holder for the ornament. And then I went into my stash of ribbons and I had this like gold roping, and I thought it was a perfect addition to these little presents. I unscrewed the eyelet like 3 or 4 times to make it stick up a little bit higher, and then I wrapped that gold roping around the that actual eyelet. That way you couldn't see the silver eyelet any longer, and then I frayed the edges, and I just think it really tied into the whole project. For project 5, this is going to be super simple. I still had a couple extra blue blocks, and I went into my Fusion Metallics. I picked out the perfect gold. It's more of like a vintage gold is what I decided on. And I am also going to grab a couple of those bottle brush trees that I ended up getting at the dollar store. All of those come with, a round circular base, and sometimes just by adding a different base to it, it completely transforms that little bottle brush tree. I'm applying 2 even coats of the metallic to each of these bases. I'm going to let them dry very thoroughly, and then we're going to come back and we are going to attach the bottle brush tree. I am removing the original base, and basically I just twist it and it unscrews right from that original base. I'm going to do that to all 3 of the trees that I'm using. Then the next step is I'm taking that same drill bit that I've been using, and I am going to drill a tiny little hole in each of those bases and then insert that bottle brush tree just to make sure it fits. If it does and the hole doesn't need to be any bigger, then I'm going to use Titebond, and I am going to add a little bit of Titebond around the metal base, and then I'm going to insert it into, insert that bottle brush tree into that base. And once it dries, you have a brand new look and feel to your bottle brush trees. I hope that I've inspired you today to go grab something vintage and repurpose it and incorporate it into your holiday decor. I had so much fun, you guys. I was really hoping to get a lot more different words out of those little blocks, but you know, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. I was able to get one word, Merry Christmas, out of it. I felt very blessed by that. But I just had so much fun working with the blocks, trying to figure out different ways to repurpose them. I had a lot more, but some of the items that I wanted to do, or the upcycles I wanted to do, I just didn't have the items here at my home. And I just decided today I wanted to reuse what I had in my stash and just not go out and buy anything additional to upcycle that piece. So that's what I did in today's video. Just went into my stash, pulled out whatever items I had, and that's what I'm gonna try to continue to do. I really need to knock down my thrifted items and knock down all my crafty items. I just need to start really using what I have. So that is what you're gonna see in the upcoming videos, is I'm gonna just go into my stash of items. I'm probably gonna break out some different stuff too, but you know what I mean. I'm just gonna try to definitely use up items that I've already opened. So with that said, I don't know what we're gonna get for Friday. Tonight, I actually am going to go inside, edit this video, get it uploaded, and then for my live tonight, start working on that. So I hope you guys can join me for my live. I do go live every Monday at 6 o'clock. In the evening Central Standard Time, and then every Wednesday at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. So I hope you can join me for one of those. And if you guys are enjoying my videos, go ahead, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on your bell notifications. That way every Monday and Friday when I release a video, you'll be notified. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me today, and we will see you guys Friday. Bye.